Yeah.
Let's confirm that before we get too excited.
Let's double check.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Can do. Welcome, everybody. We'll let you guys jump on here for a moment.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get started, shall we? Marissa, welcome to One-on-One Live with Coach Blu and Athletic Director Marissa.
Welcome.
Here we go. It's been a busy morning.
Yes, it has.
Man, full force. This is our weekly live call-in show. If you've got some questions about mental health, about addiction recovery, about health and wellness, about family communication, what have you, this is your one-stop stop. We're excited to have you here. Marissa will provide the links. You can do it through.
Is it one shop stop or one stop shop?
One shop stop. I
guess
don't know.
they both work.
What'd I say?
You said one shop stop. And I've always said one stop shop.
I guess it could go either way.
But it could go either way.
Well, whatever I said is probably wrong.
Any of you listening, let us know which one is correct.
Who knows?
Maybe it depends on where you're from, and who knows where you learned that.
Get it all here. Well,
Just kidding.
I have a way of messing those old sayings up, right? What was the last straw? I said it's the last draw.
You always said it was a draw. No, we're not.
Well, if it's the last draw, it'd be like you get shot and then that's your last draw. But it's the last straw.
The last straw. The straw that broke the camel's back. Man. And I'm not sure why that.
Do you think that came from somewhere where they were loading a bunch of straw on a camel and they put one more straw and then it crumbled? And they're like, that's it. Yeah. That's all it can take.
Have you ever seen a camel tongue?
No. What? Let's just move on. Welcome to One-on-One Live with Coach Blu, you guys. We're so excited to have you here. Thank you all so much for downloading, sharing, and subscribing to the podcast. Greatly appreciate you guys doing so. This live show here will be produced into a podcast later this week. And if you haven't noticed, we've got a great guest this week. We got to talk to Dr. Paul Jenkins again.
Yes, one of our favorite friends.
Every time we get Dr. Paul on here, it's awesome. And we did a back-to-back recording. So if you want more, jump on to Live on Purpose and check out the interview that Paul did with me.
Yes, but Dr. Paul has got some amazing resources. His Live on Purpose radio, he's got a podcast, he's got everything.
TV, Live on Purpose Central.
YouTube, but he also has tons of resources specifically for parenting, but he has an abundance of mental health stuff too, but he is quite the professional on parenting. So if you have parenting needs, that's where you want to go.
That's where you want to go. Marissa, you and I have been wickedly busy. We got lots of cool things in the hopper. I'm excited to move forward with this race we have coming up. Let's talk a little bit about the No One Left Behind. There's still time to register.
Yes. So No One Left Behind is a new half marathon, a team half marathon race that we are doing just starting this year. We'll do it every year, every June, but this year it will be June 25th. It is 3-person teams. To me, it's kind of like the adult version of the 3-legged race, where you have to stay together the whole race, start to finish, start together, finish together. Just like in recovery, you need a team behind you and you have to stay within 15 feet of each other. So get a couple friends, post on social media, get some friends on there, come to our race in Spanish Fork, Utah. Please, I think prices go up June 1st. So get registered now, get your teams, because this is going to be a fun, beautiful event along the Spanish Fork River Trail.
Absolutely. It's going to be gorgeous. It's going to be fun. Again, it's not going for time unless you really want to crush it, you and your team. You're going for the experience. We've got lots of neat things set up for the aid station. It's going to be very well stocked and very lightly traveled course. So you won't have to deal with a lot of oncoming traffic and whatnot. It's fairly
I think it's all
straightforward.
Course. Yeah. And it's kind of an out and back. Yeah. We're kind of doing a figure 8, I think.
Well, the cool thing about that too is you get to bump into a lot of other people too. Yes. So it's kind of awesome. So check that out. Website addict2athlete.org. Check out our team merch shop there.
Yes.
We got lots of merch coming in. We've got cool
some
things.
Really good stuff, and we're ordering and getting more things. So stay tuned.
But Marissa, we also want to thank our Patreon subscribers. These folks are what the backbone of this podcast belongs to. These guys are the ones that really put in the effort to support the podcast that you guys are listening to, and really to kind of move it forward. We thank you guys so much. Patreon's a great way for you to contribute to Team Addict Athlete with us giving you something back. I like this paradigm where if you give something, we can give something in return. And right now you can download all of our bonus episodes, our extracurricular playbook. We got some more be dropping here very shortly. And yeah, it's awesome because we've been walking a few people who dare enough to like invest in that time and effort. They get to talk to me directly. And so we get to coach them in the moment going through these things. That won't always be the case.
That won't. Our schedules are filling up. So if you want any of that time, become a Patreon.
Become a Patreon subscriber. But we have several tiers, and each one of those tiers come with bonus, merchandise, exclusive deals, all kinds of fun stuff. But Marissa, $2 a month gives you all the bonus content.
Yeah. But if you can do more than that, great. But you also, if you pay a year in advance, you get a discount, even on the $2 a month tier.
Yep.
But you can do higher, and we would love it. It really helps us. So we greatly appreciate our patrons.
Absolutely. So I want to give thanks to our super fans out there. They are Jerem Thurston, Tracy Whitby, Holly Davies, Scott Foster, Coach Chris Williams, Brett Frew, Coach Tara Butson. Tara, I hope you're recovering well. Poor thing out there doing some knee surgery, all kinds of scary stuff. We're thinking about you. We're going to get you back up there and running. So let yourself heal, and we'll get you back out there. We're thinking of you.
Yeah.
We got Steve Riggs. We got Karen Hardy. We got the Warrior Within podcast and personal development by Sensei KP. Those are our super fans. Thank you guys so much. Oh my gosh. Our rookie level subscribers, 2 MVPs on this list, Marissa. We got Kenny Roseman.
Oh yeah.
Got Earl Dyer.
They are our MVPs.
They are
2021, 2020.
Yep, absolutely. We got Sherry Polson out there pushing gears for all you guys who are ordering your stuff off of Amazon.
Yeah.
We thank her, right?
This UPS is
saving us. We got Sione and Mary Enoch. Thank you guys so much for all you do for the rookie level subscribers.
Thank you guys.
Are rock stars. And of course, our pro level subscribers, we got Wendell Wood. Thanks so much, Wendell, Gary Thurston, and Andrew Baird. Thank you guys so much.
Yes. Thank you, Dad.
We haven't figured out if Andrew is a BYU fan yet.
No, we haven't.
Yeah. I don't know if they're going to accept him if he's not. So hopefully they
let him onto the tier.
Let us know, man. Yeah. And of course, our championship level subscribers, they are Shad and Freya Robinson and the Robinson family, and Ron and Dee Loesch. Thank you both so much. The top tier champion level subscribers. You guys are rock stars.
The best.
If you want to jump on and become a Patreon subscriber, super easy. Jump on patreon.com/addicttoathlete.
Yes.
Marissa, we got so much to talk about. We've got all kinds of fun stuff we've got questions, we've got the answers, we've got lots of things in between. One question, and it reminded me that because of what Dee is doing, we are about ready to start another pretty deep dive with our next, class of potential sober coaches.
Yes.
Our addict to athlete recovery coach, plan, academic, what is it? Training course?
It's our certified coaching program.
That is something you and I put together a couple of years ago when we saw the need for services with the pandemic. And unfortunately, it's only getting more, I think, intense and out there. Wanted to drop, I had a question the other day about what it entails. And I think maybe we kickstart this podcast off by talking a little bit about what the Sober Coach program is, what we train you on, and a little bit about why we see this kind of as, I would say, a front runner in addiction recovery services. You want to jump into it?
So there has been a lot of research and a lot of support for what is called in the business peer support, meaning somebody with lived experience being able to connect on a different level than maybe a licensed professional. There's been a really big push to get more peer support into treatment settings, clinical settings, community support services, whether that's through addiction or mental health, people that have been through it. Mm-hmm. So we've really started doing this 11 years ago when we started Addict to Athlete. We started with having team captains and those who would step up and be helpful, giving back, who had kind of a grasp on their recovery and their sobriety. And a couple of years ago, we've had others, personal trainers and things, but are more on the emotional side, not the physical fitness side. A couple of years ago, we finally just sat down and just wrote out and got all of our sober coach or recovery coach training online. And we have 7 modules. It's about 40 hours of training.
It's not a small course. It's not one of these, hey, $15, and the licensing fee. And there you go. This is, if you're going to do this, it really is intense. It's not just something you can do overnight.
Yeah. So some of those hours are podcasts, so they can be listened to at work or on the commute. Others are
kind of the backbone of the program, right?
Some of them are videos, and there's a little bit of homework. There's not tons, but do you want to cover some of the things we kind of go over?
Yeah. So the cool thing about how we've kind of chopped this into sections is to teach you and to train you on how you are able to feel confident in helping your own life experiences with this training, how you're able to help people in recovery. And so we do things like scope of practice, because obviously you're not a therapist, right? Mm-hmm. We want to make sure that you stay in the parameter to help coach, because sober coaching, recovery coaching is kind of a cool thing, because if you think about it, you're able to help move them from one aspect of life into another through support, through teaching, through guidance, through some times of being able to offer some advice, but then kind of meet them where they are and actively help them get to achieve their goals. And so the one thing that's cool about coaching is you're an instrument in their recovery by which you're able to kind of give all your life experiences, everything that you're trained on, and feel confident in being able to coach these individuals to achieve goals. I love the process that we've done. So there's scope of practice so that you don't get yourself into a situation by which you can't find your way out of. It's very motivating, right? It's got a lot of communication. We could teach you how to do some education type settings and groups where you can kind of, metaphorically where the athlete or the person is. We don't go backwards. We motivate them forwards. Absolutely. We teach them new techniques and new skills. We do things like mindfulness, and we teach them how to, what we authentically, the erase and replace philosophy. If you're going to erase the addiction, you got to replace it with something of greater value, multiple things. Absolutely. So how to recreate with the team, how to get yourself out there in the real world.
We discuss, team structure. What's the team, addict to athlete philosophy. And then we also discuss addiction and substance use and what it is, family systems and the home team, and supporting from all sides.
Yeah. So think about it. One of the biggest things you'll do as a coach is to help create with them a positive home team, to give them home court advantage in their own home, in their own community, so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. So think about that, right? As a recovery coach, what you'll do is help them, establish that dynasty team. Yeah. What parts do each person play? You don't let dumb things happen on your home courts. You want to keep it clean. You want to keep it, motivating, all that kind of stuff. And so it really is quite thorough. It is not an overnight thing. You've got to really put in some effort. But what we found is that the number of coaches that we've already trained have gone on to stay under the umbrella of Addict to Athlete as well. Some of them have, and they've started chapters in their local communities. Mm-hmm. I can think of Coach James Johnson out in Uinta Basin. We just had an experience with him by which he brought a bunch of people down from Uinta Basin, which is out there in Vernal, Utah, down to Nephi, Utah, to do a skydiving experience.
That's awesome.
And James is, I think, one of the most inspiring coaches, because he came from literally, a prison and the Conquest program, and
where they covered Addict to Athlete there.
Yep, there's the chapter of Addict to Athlete there in the prison there at the state of Utah, and Coach James was one of those ones who, when he got out, wanted to keep it going, and he has created this amazing opportunity out there where services aren't so fluid. And he's created this extension of Addict to Athlete. Yeah. We've also had other coaches that have taken it just for the education part, to want to, help their communities through, the understanding and the philosophy that we teach. And so some of them use it for their own personal training gain, and some of them use it to keep themselves open to a chapter there. So there's a lot you can do with this. And I think that it's going to be kind of, I think, the wave of the future, so to speak, where in your communities where you have the most pull and the most ability to change, this is going to be a good resource for you to have. So,
yeah, we're so grateful. In fact, 2 of our coaches that have already taken our coaching are now going on to get their master's degree.
I've noticed that.
Loved it, and they really want to do more. And so they're back in school and doing more, which is amazing.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful, because that actually is a side effect, is you'll want to go on, because
Mhm.
this is the thing, right? They felt like, hey, if I can do this coaching, if I go in and get my master's degree, now I can do the therapy part too.
Yeah.
So kind of a motivating thing, and you're right. That's kind of awesome. I've kind of forget about those things because they're just
Yeah.
so awesome. They just keep rolling with it.
It's awesome.
But you can check it out on our resources page on addict2athlete.org. You can see a few links to that. And if you have any questions, reach out to Marissa here. She'll get you some information. I think there's a video to watch first to see if it's something that you want to do.
If you want it, video. Message me and I can share that with you. That kind of gives you a little overview, but there's some pretty good information in what we just shared too, if that's helpful to you.
Absolutely. So check that out. And if you have any questions, let us know. So that was a great question to start off with. We've got a lot of questions here because we've kind of done a little bit of a backup. Is there anything coming through yet that's out there, the ethos of listeners?
Not that I can see.
Okay. The first one we want to talk about, Marissa, and I think it might be a little bit, maybe prevalent, even though it's been a while since this had been submitted.
Yeah.
About dysfunctional relationships, specifically in addiction and addiction recovery. It's kind of coming out right now. If you have a pulse and have noticed that there's this humongous, crazy trial with Amber Heard and Johnny Depp.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is revolving around dysfunctional relationships, addiction relationships, and some cycles of abuse and some personality disorders. It's been kind of sad to a certain degree to watch.
Also, what bringing in substances and addiction into a relationship can do and cause.
Yeah. Amber said something yesterday that kind of got me a little bit riled up about, she has self-proclaimed that she has used in her history. But obviously doesn't qualify herself as an addict, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But then kind of tried to throw Johnny under the bus and say that she never believes the lies of an addict, and she takes everything that an addict says with a grain of addict salt. That pissed me off
when she said that.
Yeah, because I'm like, well, you, my lady, have some pretty heavy personality issues here,
and they've caught her in quite a few lies.
Saying that only makes you look bad, but it still reinforces some of the stigma. But I'm also noticing that as people are talking about their own addictions and substance abuse while on stand, it's not raising any eyebrows. It's not, there's no clutching of the pearls or gasping in the crowd. It's very well known that this whole ethos that is that celebrity system kind of revolves around substance use.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a good or bad thing, that it's losing some of its shock value.
Yeah.
But people are talking about it pretty openly, which is great.
Yeah. That's wonderful. And to know, I mean, you don't want things to become just so mundane that you're like, yeah, everyone does it. It's not a big deal. But hopefully recognizing that, yes, it happens, and let's discuss it. Let's talk about it, because there is a lot of substance abuse and misuse in this relationship, but also what does that substance abuse and substance use create? Mm-hmm. Even if maybe they are monitoring it, okay, in this situation, it created real severe toxic environment.
A lot of
on both sides
there.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so, the question kind of said, the same kind of premise that we're seeing here is when do we start recognizing that the relationships that we're in are unhealthy? The warning signs, we always kind of draw that line in the sand, so to speak, that we'll never cross this. And if we ever lay hands on each other, or if we ever get verbal with each other, that will be the indicator that this relationship is over. And what happens is we push the line, they push the line, they push the line, and they cross it, and then they try to retract, and it's okay. And then the line gets extended. And pretty soon, what you never would have put up with in the past is now your present. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so, there are a lot of warning signs that are, I would say, are precursors to this. You and I have talked about this in the past, and I know it always gives some people heartburn out there. And although, again, I've never personally seen it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say it's not possible, but I've never seen a relationship by which a union, boyfriend, girlfriend, union,
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's husband, wife, or it's partner, doesn't matter.
Relationship.
If they both have addiction in common, and if you've used together in a history, the chances of that succeeding in the future are almost zero.
Yeah.
Because it takes one issue, it takes one, trauma, it takes one situation to get one of you back into addiction. I'm not saying it's not possible.
But it's one of those
In the
situations.
20 through 4 years I've been doing this,
You haven't seen it.
never seen it.
Yeah.
Why?
Because it's kind of like the analogy of a crabs in a bucket, you know, and it's easy to just pull the other one down once somebody else gets weak and, you know, relapses or uses to end up. Or if the one relapses and uses and the other one wants to be strong, they're like, sorry, I'm not part of this. And then they leave too. And so then to keep themselves safe, the relationship still ends.
If I would have tried, say, you know, circa 21 years ago, we've been married for 22 years now. I remember a time that we went to someone's wedding and I noticed, it was very early on in our marriage. I noticed that the only difference between the alcoholic drinks and the non-alcoholic drinks was a red straw. And it was funny because I'd already been clean for quite some time there, but I thought it wouldn't be that hard to just simply pull one out and put it in the other, right?
And I wouldn't have noticed.
You would have never have known. But if I came back to the table and I'm like, hey, try this. I want to drink this. What would you have done? Like if I tried to talk you into drink, because we have a very unique relationship, Marissa, because, you know, as if you listen to Mig's podcast, right?
Yes.
ODAT, you'd know that you don't have a history of this. So no matter how bad, how hard, how crazy my day situation issues I was dealing with were, could I ever have talked you into drinking with me, using substances with me?
Never.
Why?
That's just something that's I hold very strong and have, you know, I understand the issues that come with it. And it is nothing I want to engage in at all.
But back then you didn't know. You didn't know the full ramifications.
Not like I do now.
Yeah.
But absolutely, I knew enough to understand. And, you know, and I was raised with different values, but I'd also had other boyfriends that had struggled with addiction too. And I saw the mess it had in their lives and their family and beyond. And
I think on the focal point of my approach on that, I didn't feel as though I didn't want to disrespect you. Like to me, after I had walked away from the substance use and had a very scary situation go down, and it scared me enough to say I never want to put myself in that situation where I've lost that much control. I don't want to subject you to it. I didn't want to put you into that position where it would. I mean, I can think of nothing more disrespectful than to like introduce you into substance use. I've seen it happen when I was younger. I've watched my friends bring in girlfriends and then get them addicted. To me, I think that is the most heartbreaking thing a person could do. Like when I hear my clients talk about a parent sharing substances with their children, that crushes me.
Introducing them to.
There is no way on this little ball of mud called Earth I would walk into my daughter's or my son's room and be like, here's a Budweiser, have a drink. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Let's go relax together. And
then to call that a bonding moment.
Yeah. And that's what they do. They think it's a bonding moment. But like we've discussed, and, we were talking about James doing this skydiving event with you. And so you always, ask them before they get on, like, what are they doing this for? What's the difference here between this experience and when they were using? And so many times the answer is, this is real. This is real.
This is real. We heard that many times.
Yeah. So when you try to create an emotional connection and relationship and experience with a loved one over substances, you're bringing in something that is not authentic. It is a manufactured experience by bringing in substances.
See, and that's the thing. And the manufactured part, why is that not optimum for a relationship? Like the manufactured parts of that. Like you want relationships to kind of happen naturally. You want them to be able to trust you, to love you, to just be there. But when you have to manufacture a connection, like by lowering inhibitions.
So that you can talk.
We have a problem.
But then, because once you're sober, once you've cleaned out a little, like, can you keep that relationship going? Of maybe there is, you drink and you have less inhibitions, like you say, and then you can talk and share on a deeper level. But if you can't do that sober and clear-minded, why does it matter if you did it when you're drunk?
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a real serious issue if you cannot do it clear-minded and clear-headed. And if those are the only ways that you can build up, there's some other issues behind it. Just like we always say, addiction isn't about the substance. It's about what's behind it. So why is it that you're withholding some of that vulnerability with a loved one and you can't have those real experiences? What fear or what resentment or what anger or what poor communication do you have that needs to be addressed, not created a substance that fixes it so it makes it easy.
You are so right, listeners. I hope you caught wind of that. Now you said some heavy stuff there. That I think is the reason I never, took the red straw out and did that, because it wasn't the substance. It was what was leading it. By that time, a year into our marriage, we were already a year and a half almost into therapy anyway.
Yeah.
And we'd come to some understanding. I'd come to some aha moments, and I've seen like the why behind it all. I didn't need it.
Yeah. We had worked enough on the vulnerability, the communication skills, the opening up to each other and, being honest and being real and good or bad. And that's what I've said a million times, that's part of life is the good, bad, ugly, and indifferent. And if you try to create a manufactured experience to just create this optimal, perfect thing, that's not what life is. Life is about the ups and downs and around. And that's what we want. And stuff that we can control and be part of and engage in, not something that's just put in from external forces.
So then let's get very real here, because I think the listeners, I want you guys to kind of maybe take a step deeper with us. These are the reasons why, when we've had some pretty heavy experiences happen in our lives with Marissa and I, because it hasn't been all rainbows and lilies, has it? There's been some heavy stuff.
Yeah.
We've had loss. We've had insecurity. We've had some doubt. We've had a lot of things.
Went through troubling situations with other relationships, family, friends,
Yeah. You remember that whole time when we decided to move to Southern Utah and that worked out for 3 months and then didn't work out? Right. We've
losing lots of money and
we've lost lots of money. I mean, you look at this. Yeah. I mean, from the trauma going through school, I'll call it trauma, right? To miscarriage. We've had heavy duty issues.
Yeah.
And not one time have I ever thought, man, I would love to get high. Because listeners, what we're talking about is going to the core of what's causing the substance use. Your alcoholism, your drinking, your drug using is not the problem. It's what's pushing that. How do you dig deeper into that? We talk about it a lot, that core issue.
Yeah.
See, my core issue was abandonment, right? And then you go deeper than that, it was neglect.
Yeah.
You taught me how to not neglect myself, even though I didn't want to look at it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? You gave me enough, I'm going to say, room to say, hey, I'm not abandoning you. I'm going to be here, but I'm not going to do it for you.
Yeah.
That opened my eyes to a lot of like, wow, how can I forgive myself first and then forgive others, right? Because that's really what it was. I don't think those people meant to neglect me.
No, I'm sure
they just did. Does that make sense?
I don't know any better, didn't know what they were doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that for someone in addiction recovery, your perfection lies in the imperfection. So I think it's important to explore the deeper meaning behind like the why, the who am I's, right? So if you are unwilling to do that, that's where you might need some help.
Yeah.
And maybe not even unwilling, maybe you don't know where to start, right? Because I think about clients I've had where I'm thinking, I wish that they could get to that spot with their partner or with their spouse or whoever to say, what is really going on? Why do you think we have such a roadblock? Like if you pull back all the layers with Johnny Depp and Amber, right? And you get down to the core of it, like the core of it, not the borderline tendencies, not the alcohol or the substance use, right? You get down to the core of it, you see insecurity. Why?
Oh, yeah.
What is it, right? Is it that fear of abandonment? Is it that fear of neglect? Is that fear of losing something, right? What does that make sense? Why do we have a hard time drilling down on ourselves?
It's scary. It's emotions.
Why would it be scary? Because
emotions are hard. Like it's easy to do things that are physically demanding. It's a whole lot. It's a whole different paradigm to do things
challenging,
that are emotionally demanding. And, it's not, it's kind of something that's so abstract.
Before I forget,
like how do you measure?
Do you think it is that, or do you think at the end of it, and I hope this comes across right, at the end of it, it's no one else's fault or problem but yours?
That's probably some of it.
Because I had to say that my perception on all that led me to feel those things. My thoughts created those things. So even though I don't think like the plan was for my mother to neglect our needs, it happened.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say I embellished it to a point where it became my truth.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you're having external forces put that on you, even if you are a child,
yeah,
absolutely. And then when you adopt that, that's still your choice. Even if that's all you have is negative, you are still the only one that can change that.
Okay, but why then is it? Okay, that's the thing. I am. And if I didn't choose to forgive, right, what would have happened? I would have been pissed off forever, right? I would have this chip on my shoulder. And the only way to soothe that is to suppress it with something else, something outside, something chemical.
Yeah.
So listeners, the hard part about this is when you boil it down, you are responsible for your own happiness.
Yeah. Well, and again, if you are hurt, absolutely, you were abused physically, emotionally, everything. And if you're looking at that, it's still you're the only one that can address that and to fix and help yourself heal. You may have other people, external, therapists and people outside that may help you facilitate that, but you are the one that has to do the work.
Well, and I think that when there's a distance between our authentic self, on the one hand, either, not really knowing who we are, where we stand, if there's some distance behind that, you're going to experience anxiety because you're going to have this fear of like what's out there. I don't know what's coming. And the incongruences between the true self and the external self, I think are where we get caught a lot in that addiction process, right?
Yeah.
Because inside I'm hurting. But the outside of it is I've got to maintain this face of confidence or of reassurance. And so I've got to have this to sleep, this to, interact with people. I got to be bigger, better, faster, stronger, whatever. And I think that those will all, they always try to pursue the feeling of to alleviate all that, but it doesn't, it makes it worse.
Yeah.
Because we never get in touch with the authentic parts. Does that make sense?
But sadly, it does fix it, and it fixes it pretty well for a while. And that's why people become addicted. It's because it does work.
Yeah.
But it's the long run. It's even if you're not using so much that it's detrimental that you lose your job and you go to jail or you go to prison, sometimes those aren't the consequences. It's other things that become the consequences. Just this week, I had a conversation with a woman who finally opened up to me and told me that she had been a functioning alcoholic for many, many years, was able to keep a job, didn't think she had a problem because she was able to function. She was a mom. She did work. She did, was a wife and mother, and everything was fine. And it wasn't until she was telling me that her daughter got married and was getting ready to have children that she was like, oh my gosh, I've literally checked out so much. And I don't want to do that to my grandkids. Yeah. And I said, wow. So you had drank like that through raising your children? And she just, this heartache rushed over her face of, yeah, I did.
Missed it.
And what did I miss? And I missed so much that I recognized what I missed, and I didn't want to do that to my grandkids. Wow. I wanted to be invested. I wanted to be there and involved. And to do that, I had to quit drinking, even though she wasn't an alcoholic. And she said, even at first, when she did bring it up, even to her husband, he's like, you don't have a problem, which is what many people hear, mostly with alcohol, because it's culturally okay. It's a legal substance, instead of like him saying, oh, okay, I support you. Or why would you say that? He was like, you don't have a problem. And I see that a lot where people are then having to convince people around them, but again, it came down to, she wasn't fully there, and she wanted to be.
See, and I think that's an interesting thing too. Do you think that the reason why the statement was, you're fine, you're okay, it's not as bad as you think, was because they didn't know, didn't realize? Do you think it was because they loved and didn't want to hurt them, or they themselves wanted to maintain their own level of substance use, whatever? Does it make sense?
I don't know her situation, but in other people's situation, I've seen every single one of those.
Right.
They want to keep drinking at that level. So they're going to convince you it's not an issue. It's not a problem. Or also that they don't want you to feel bad about yourself. And yeah, you do have a problem, or yeah, I wish you wouldn't. So they're like, no, it's not that big of a deal. And people will minimize it to help lessen the emotional strain it could cause by being honest about it. I think there's a lot of issues.
God, you bring up such a good point. And listeners, the neat thing about this too is the only way you're going to be able to achieve, I guess, any kind of mastery on whether or not what we're talking about fits you is by having enough courage to start the process.
Absolutely.
Right? I think it's hard. Like you said, okay, we'll rewind a little bit. It's hard to get into the authentic parts of you because it is kind of scary. And that means you have to deal with some stuff that you've probably locked up. And it's funny because I always kind of have this thought process that compartmentalizing was a good thing. It's not.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, because compartmentalizing, where you're putting one problem on a shelf and then you're labeling it, don't open until whatever, or whatever. And you're doing this as you're compartmentalizing all this kind of stuff. You're not really filing it to deal with. You're putting it away to store for no good.
And sometimes you forget about it and it doesn't get addressed.
Well, the reason why I know this is because for some flipping reason, maybe it's got to be the ADHD in me, I don't throw stuff away. Not that we're cluttered or anything, but like my nightstand drawer becomes a catch-all for like
everything.
Electronic wires, for like pocket knives, for like,
hand sanitizer.
Hand sanitizers.
We have lots of those.
Yeah, we during the pandemic, we were fine. I'm like, I had no idea I was buying, and it's kind of funny. So I shouldn't tell you this. Oh my gosh. So what I do is I get a shoebox, I put it all in, and guess where I put it?
On the shelf.
In the storage. It's right behind you.
And our closet, the top shelf in our closet. I know.
And I open the box and I'm like, woohoo, look at all these treasures. Like, what is that?
Well, I think some of it is the ADHD of out of sight, out of mind. When you don't see it, it doesn't exist. So you forget it's there and buy another one and another one. And then you have another
Now
issue.
Apply that same concept to someone in addiction, right? Out of sight, out of mind. If no one's there to say, hey, slow down. Hey, have you noticed, or hey, what's the deal with?
And I'm always the one that was like, we can keep all this stuff as long as we have a place to put it. And part of that means is we put the same things together so we know how many we have and where to go when we need it, rather than, I don't know, I didn't think we had it, so I bought 5 more. Which happens all the time.
Well, we're not.
And how do we do that with issues too?
We're talking about
not just
not Blue's ADHD.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
But it's the same
I'm
thing.
Kidding.
We address
it really is.
Yeah, we start packing on other things and other issues or whatever, thinking, oh yeah, I know where that is. I can take care of that. And then you don't, and it becomes another clutter that you put in a box and compartmentalize somewhere else.
100%. And those same things happen in relationships.
Absolutely.
I'm a firm believer in it. And I think sometimes it's funny because, how I respond to some of those things and how you respond, listeners, when someone brings up something that is true and that needs to be worked on or identified, and we push that away. What is that saying? If I'm like, mind your own business.
Yeah.
Well, then what? What does that make you feel like?
I don't understand what's going on. I should just be quiet. Shouldn't say anything.
But pretty soon we have boxes upon boxes upon boxes. And then what happens? That becomes infringent upon your happiness.
But it also becomes infringent upon our relationship, because whether it's resentment or I just quit, I just withdraw and don't address things that I need to have heard or discussed or listened to, then we don't, it doesn't work long term.
It's interesting. So I guess what we're boiling this down to, listeners, is that in order to have a relationship by which you can be free to open, number one, there's got to be a ground level of emotional safety. The one thing that you and I have is that we have emotional safety. We have so much stress on our plate right now, me and you, so much. And it's good stress. It's good stuff. It's a good problem to have, trying to find a location for our team, and all these fun
Get
stuff.
new programs going. And
absolutely. We're opening a new chapter here soon down in Richfield. Yeah. And tonight we're traveling down to Southern Utah. We're going to see our chapter down there. We got a race we're going to be doing a part of, like down in Southern Utah. It's going to be great, but it's all busy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start kind of getting in my head with all this kind of stuff, and things don't work out the way I want them to. I get negative. I'm like, the heck with that, and the heck with those people. And you're like, let's talk with these people. And I'm like, no, you do it, and I'm done. And then when we had the phone call, I do all the talking. I'm like, what is that? When we get in those mindsets, it's so cool because like the other day I was upset and I was down here for hours. Mm-hmm. And then it dawned on me. I'm like, you dummy, what are you doing? Like, you are separating yourself for what? Like, for the rest of your existence, you're just not going to talk to her. And I'm down here and I'm like, I text you, I'm sorry. Yeah. And it was cool because it was like, all I am is in my head. Yeah. And you gave me the space to like be there. Yeah. But I'm glad you didn't jump in first. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because I would have like.
Well, I know by now in our relationship, I know you need time to process it. You need time to have it settle, to be able to think at it. If I want to force the issue and say, no, we need to solve it and talk about it now, it just because I could and need to do that doesn't mean you can, and it usually ends up in a bigger mess. So.
Well, it's funny too, because I get all up in
Chad
arms.
also just said that he has boxes that he hasn't opened in 20 years, but he can't throw them away.
Yeah, me either, Chad. We should have a little like show and tell and see what's in these things, man. It would be kind of fun. Do it on video. The cool thing about what you just said, though, I want to just kind of drill down on, and that is, again, we both have the same goal. Like your goal is the same. You and I'll be honest with you guys. I'll be very transparent. One of the reasons why is because one of the locations that we thought would be perfect for Addict to Athlete ended up not jiving with the people who wanted to lease the building.
Yeah, the landlords.
And I know for a fact it's because we have the word addict in our name.
They were one of the reasons that they brought up. Yes, that was an issue, is because of
history,
having addicts
history. Okay.
In their location.
Now here's the deal. I kind of wanted to say, well, I'll bet you $1 million that the people that were addicts using your facility didn't call themselves Addicts Auto Repair Shop, right? Or whatever it was. Right.
Yeah.
But here we are now being something
open and honest and straightforward about who we are and what we do. And
when we got some pushback, I got pissed.
Yeah.
Because I'm very protective of this team. Yeah. Right. And I'm like, to heck with them. I don't want anything to do with them. I don't want to talk to them.
Rent
done. Yeah. And then you and Jed are like, well, what do we do here? You're the one, coach, that has said since day one, advocate.
We are here also to change the public's perception of addiction. And the only way we can do that is by talking and educating.
Yep. So we did that. We had a nice phone call with them. It was great. It got cut off because cell phone service these days is horrible.
So we weren't able to finish.
Yeah. But it felt like, okay, mission accomplished.
Yeah.
Did we get the building? No.
So who knows?
Who knows why?
Maybe it's still that.
But here's the deal.
That's okay.
But here's the deal. And what I had to wrap my head around is, well, that's fine then, because you now don't get to see what we're going to become.
Yeah.
And when you're building,
and who our people really are.
When your building is sitting empty and you get the undercover addicts renting it again, there you go. Because we are going to build a bigger building without tearing yours down.
Yeah. I always love it when people freak out about like a residential, treatment center opening up in a neighborhood, and they're like, oh my gosh, I don't want addicts in my neighborhood, and they throw a fit. And I just think the addicts in a rehab are going to be so much more supervised than, sadly, most of situations.
The one who's across the street.
It's the one across the street, or your own son in your basement that you don't even know about. But you want to easily point out the ones that have the sign on their front of what they're doing and all the supervision they have.
Yeah. I don't know, that kind of stuff. And so you guys processing that with me, giving me the time to kind of like cool off and then, start anew. Those are how relationships thrive, listeners. Those are how these things really get accomplished. The fact of the matter is I wasn't in a talking mood for quite a while because I was pissed. I was upset. Yeah. You allowed me to do that. But I was the one that came to my understanding of like, I'm being a doofus. I'm being an idiot. Now, here's the deal. If I decided to start drinking or using, I would have validated the reason why everyone else is the doofus. I wouldn't have been able to see intrinsically inside of me what was causing that. I was in control of my emotions. I was pissed. I was very upset. I was mad, and I was mad at everybody else.
Yeah.
But when I got the quiet time, when I started to process, then I could say, Blue, this is about you, man. Knock it off. If you suppress that, you will still get entrenched with that everyone else is the problem, not me.
Well, and it's important to look at those situations. It's hard. Don't get me wrong. I don't do this perfectly. But in those situations, to look at it as with empathy and understanding that they've probably been through something really bad to have that horrible of a perception of what an addict is, or, that they have that much judgment. And, it's the same thing as when people try to attack us personally about something, anyone, they're just being mean. Is it something personally about us? No, it's more so about them and how they feel inside.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Yeah.
And if we can look at them with empathy instead of anger and frustration, it makes our side much easier too, to understand that they must be in a really bad place to be doing that.
Yeah. Last night, you and I had an opportunity to go to this very interesting, we found ourselves in the most interesting situation last night.
Yes.
It was called the Pillars of the Community for Utah Valley, where the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce were honoring 2 recipients of exceptional just fortitude.
Giving back to the community so much in service.
I had no idea these things
business.
even existed.
Yeah, it was like this black tie event.
You guys, listeners, we had to get dressed up, and it was crazy. It was weird.
Yeah,
we looked like sore thumbs sitting in there, and they had this wedge of lettuce with this amazing. I'm like, like the salad with a wedge of lettuce. I'm like, how do we eat this? Right. Anyway, the 2 that they were recognizing, pillars in the community, amazing. The lady last night, she overcome cancer, was kind of one of the first like females on Silicon Slopes. And
and in the tech industry that just broke through, and a CEO, and has just given back so much to the community, but also the tech community all over the world. But
she had cancer 10 years ago. And last night at the end of, towards the end of the evening, I guess she was raising money for the Huntsman Cancer Institute, right? And she was raising $100,000. And
for her 10 year.
One of the Osmonds, I don't know who it was, with the
Nathan.
flashy coat, whoever that guy
Nathan
is.
Osmond.
How do you remember that?
I don't know.
Yeah. That dude rolls up there and says, hey, everybody, we want to get her to her goal. They were like $7,000 short.
Okay.
Within 2 minutes, they had $6,000 over their goal.
Yeah. So I just pulled up. Her name is Corrine Clark. Incredible if you look her up.
Amazing woman.
But if you do Corrine Clark Huntsman Cancer, guess where it's at today?
Where is it at today?
152,000.
152,000. So last night she was at 100.
It was like
6,000.
No, it was it was 93, and they wanted
to get it to,
as they were talking about her, asking everyone there at the dinner if they would donate even $5 to be able to help get her to the 100,000. And in a few minutes it was 106,000. Now it's at 152,000.
There's a lot of money floating around in that place. I was thinking as I was doing that, and I sometimes get a little, I get a chip on my shoulder. I do. And although what she's doing is amazing, as we were walking in to the facility last night, you and I came in contact with 2 people that were very intoxicated and very inebriated and had a hard time even standing up straight.
Yeah.
The one guy we kind of pointed in the right direction, said, hey, go over here. They'll give you some help. And the other guy kind of, I want to make sure he wasn't falling. So we got up beside him to make sure he didn't fall over. And as we're walking into this black tie event with thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars being translated to this cause and that cause, I'm thinking outside this very door. Yeah. That's where we are. That hurt.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about that, but that hurt me.
About the same thing.
And we're walking out, I'm thinking, I've never even heard of these people that received these awards, and they were amazing. They're great people.
Yeah.
But outside in the trenches, we have our own community struggling for life.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a huge eye opener for me. And I forgot to mention that to you last night. So I'm kind of popping this on to you right now. But each one of you who are on this team, who put in the effort, these coaches that we're training, you guys are the pillars of this community. There may be some people that are on high-tech jobs and that are creating some amazing experiences and doing righteous, cool, amazing things, and they should be recognized.
Absolutely.
But for you guys, those who are out there in the trenches, the addicts fighting back, the fit to recovers.
Yeah. Soap to hope.
The soap to hopes. All like, to me, I'm thinking you guys should be up on that stage being celebrated because you do the jobs that everyone else wants to ignore.
And pretend doesn't exist.
And pretend doesn't exist. And it was hard for me to kind of get my heart too invested in it when within 30 seconds, 2 minutes, someone can raise
that much money.
And it's going to cancer research. It needs to happen.
Yeah.
But right outside your door, we're still fighting. Oh, it was heartbreaking. That's why we need your help. That's why we need your input.
I mean, we've talked about it, how hard it is when you hear about, the heroes and they always talk about the firefighters and the nurses and the doctors and the police. And they are absolutely, my sister is a hero and a firefighter and a nurse, but some of the true heroes are, I had a phone call with Freya Robinson, one of our patrons this morning. The foster parents.
Those are heroes.
Yeah. Social workers.
They're the heroes.
Therapists. Talk about somebody who's really in the trenches and saving lives. But they are absolutely fighting an uphill battle that they feel like, because we're there too, you're losing every day.
Yeah. That's the thing. I remember I was standing in line once after I was talking a kid out of suicide once, and I spent about 3 hours with him. And I was like, holy crap. And we got him real close to the edge and real close back to the other side. And he was okay. And I remember that was hard. And I remember going in to get a drink, and there was a bunch of firefighters in there, and they all went in there, filled up their cups, and they're like, no charge for you guys. And I thought, that's pretty awesome. But then it kind of hit me. I'm like, if we really knew what people did for a living, everyone would be getting free drinks. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like you just literally saved a life.
Yeah.
Just hours before.
Yeah. And and don't get me wrong. I don't want anyone to get that the wrong way. Like we need to, like hoist me on their shoulders.
We don't want to compare here, but it's like, there's so much more that could be celebrated.
Yeah. But like those folks who go out and, put their work into the homeless shelters and like the guys, there's so much out there that you do. And I never noticed, Yeah. It was just to kind of end today's podcast. I just wanted to say thank you to all of you who are the agents of recovery, those who are out there creating and producing and helping.
All those who give and donate to the Addict to Athlete, to these causes that are so close to our heart. We're so grateful. I
was on a state call yesterday as a grant requirement, and I saw so many familiar faces out there. And it was cool because 11 years ago, when we started Addict to Athlete, there was nothing like that.
Yeah.
There was nothing. When we started Addict to Athlete, there was kind of like a rogue group.
Yeah.
And now I'm sitting there watching and seeing all these people, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing. And one of the, is it Brent?
Yes.
Brent
Kelsey, who's
over the state stuff that we're doing.
Substance abuse. Yeah.
He said that he was out doing a run up in Salt Lake County for recovery days. And he was with some pretty interesting folks from the government. And they were like kind of blown away by like the representation from the community up there. Like, wow, you guys have a lot of people that are invested in this.
Recovery,
and I've said this
the recovery
before,
community.
We are lucky in Utah because we roll up our sleeves and we get it done.
Yeah, we have a lot of help.
We do. And so for all of you out there who were on that call yesterday, I don't know if you're listening to this, whatever, but all those people that work at the state, all those people who work on the ground level, thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're the real heroes here. And together, I think we can accomplish some great things. It's worth it. But yeah, that was an eye opener for me yesterday.
Yeah.
To see that contrast. I mean, you saw we bumped into 2 people in less than a block and a half that needed what we had.
And there was one across the street, if you saw them too.
I didn't notice that. So 3. My heavens, we'll have work to do. Listener, thank you so much for contributing. Hope we got some of those questions answered. Please continue to send them. If we don't get them on the air, we'll get you responses back in your DM, right?
If you get on live, then you for sure usually get slipped in and we can help you.
Absolutely. But continue to check out the other podcasts, Addict to Athlete, Agents of Recovery, the Minor League, all that, and then some in the middle. And until next time, please go turn that mess into a message.